All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name's Nicole, and welcome back to our English class. We are continuing with our series on business English. Today, we are going to explore some important words and phrases that will help you write effective and professional emails for work, which means that we're going to focus on business email vocabulary. Now, email is our primary way we communicate in the business world. We understand that because they help us share information, coordinate tasks, and build relationships with colleagues and clients. So, using the right vocabulary is key to ensuring your messages are clear, your messages are impactful, and it achieves the intended purpose or message. So, in this session, we will look at specific terms and phrases that, you know, that are commonly used in business correspondence. So, we are such as making requests, providing updates, expressing concerns, and right. I think and if everything's good. Okay, continuing with this. Sorry for that. Of course, if this is very important, we know that because we try to expand our business email vocabulary here, which is especially important at not only just in personal use, but also especially in business or in workplaces use, right? So you will be able to express yourself more precisely and more professionally. This will not only enhance your communication skills, but also contribute to clear and more efficient interactions in your workplaces. All right. So let's get immediately started with the first set of words. Let's dive in and explore the language of successful business emails. Are you ready? Okay, let's immediately start. Let's have the first set of phrases, which is on email structure vocabulary. Starting with this is subject. Again, subject. So this is the topic or the title of the email. Basically, what the email is all about. This is arguably the most critical part of your email because it determines whether the recipient will even open it, right? A compelling subject line should be a concise summary of the email's main point. It should allow the recipient to quickly understand the urgency and the relevance of the message. So you can think of it as the first impression your email makes. So a vague subject like update, like the word just update, no, it provides no context. Whereas if you try to say um project alpha, something like that, so project alpha, a timeline update and next steps, your title would be like that. Of course, it immediately informs the reader about the content. It is much easier for them to follow what you are trying to say in the email. So when crafting your subject, try to include words, um, most likely keywords that the recipient might use to search for this email later. Okay, so if there's a deadline involved, mention it in the subject. No, it can be very helpful for them. You can say, um, action required, feed, feedback on marketing proposed by, excuse me, by Friday. So you should also be mindful of length with this. Most email programs, you know, um it does not really have that long subject lines, but not too short also because it will be very lacking. So it's, just in between, because we try to consider mobile devices because the recipients, of course, do not receive usually, um, they do not always receive the email through laptop only. They can also receive it by their mobile devices. So we try to consider that. So we aim for clarity within a reasonable character limit. Usually, I've noticed it's around 50 to 60 characters, which is a good guideline. Yeah, good guideline already, or a good subject already. 50 to 60 characters. Okay, so I've mentioned this. Of course, you use this absolutely every email you send needs a subject line. So you use this in every email. Okay, an email without a subject, it can appear suspicious or unprofessional and might even be filtered as spam for the recipient. So when replying to an email, it's generally good practice to keep the original subject line. Usually there's a prefixed re, right? If you want to try to reply to an email, as this helps maintain context. However, if the topic of the email thread shift significantly, you can consider updating the subject line to reflect the new focus. Okay, so when, of course, providing or when making this kind of part of the email, your tone should primarily be professional and direct. You should avoid using slang as much as possible. You should also avoid overly casual language or emoticons in most business contexts, while a slightly more informal tone might be acceptable in internal communications among close colleagues. Like, well, you want to ask a quick question about the report, something like that. Well, it's generally safer to maintain a professional demeanor. Okay, so especially when communicating with external parties or even senior management, of course, you should be professional. Your tone should be professional. You should avoid sensational or misleading subject lines to get someone to open your email. It can damage your credibility because that's not a good tactic. They might deem it as, very sly. Okay. Um I've included the pronunciation here, so subject. Although, yes, we do not really say, no, we do not speak, we do not pronounce in something in the email because it's all written, it's all typed, right? But we try to, as much as possible, we try to be familiar with the pronunciation of the words that we commonly use in writing email. Okay? Because we can also be able to use this when trying to speak something. We can use this in a sentence, okay? When we try to deliver a message orally, we can use these words. So it's just, let's just be let's just try to be knowledgeable on how we pronounce the following terms that will be provided or that will be included in this whole session, just for us to be familiar with it. Okay, although yes, again, we do not say something, we do not speak something, we do not pronounce something in an email because it's all written. It's just as important to know how to pronounce these words because words are not solely for written use only. It's also for verbal communication, for oral communication specifically. All right. So this one, subject, the first syllable is sub. It is pronounced like the beginning of the word subway. So the vowel sound is a short sound, as in cup or bus, something like that. So it's a short sound. And then the B here, which is the last sound, it is clear, it is voiced by labial stop. That's how they say it, by labial. But yeah, I'm just gonna say something simple so that it will be very much easier for you to really follow what I'm trying to say. Okay? Well, if you want to actually try to be familiar with this, there's a chart for this. I forgot what it's. Yeah, it's It's a table for manner and place of articulation. That's what I can say. It's a table for manner and place of articulation. So bilabial is part of that. It is just, how you particularly say the specific sounds, letter sounds of all sounds in English. So they try to categorize it in a table. They try to categorize its place and its manner of articulation. Okay, that is, more detailed so that you can really be familiar with how this particular letter, this particular part of this whole syllable sounds. Okay, well, continuing, the second syllable is ject. There's only two syllables here. It begins with the letter J sound. As you can see in the pronunciation, in the IP pronunciation, this one that is a j sound. That's a j sound. Okay, letter J sound, which is voiced sound. If you want to be, if you want to know in the table of place and manner of articulation, we call that this usually post-alveolar affricate. Those kind of technical terms, technicalities, we want to. I'm just gonna say it, but this is just basically um how your how the articulators or the inside of your mouth is placed when you try to say or when you try to pronounce the letter J sound. Okay? All right. So the vowel sound here is the short E sound, as in bit or sit, and then the final consonant cluster, CT, it is voiceless. You know, this is voiceless stop sound. It's followed by a voiceless stop sound also. It creates a crisp KT sound. Kt, kt. So you combine the sounds of K and T. All right. For the stressed syllable, it would be the primary stress falls on the first syllable, making it slightly longer and louder. So you say subject. Again, subject. One more time, subject. Okay, let's move on to the second word, salutation. Salutation. This is the opening greeting of the email. Basically, you're opening hello. That's salutation. This is your formal or informal greeting to the recipient or recipients. It's the first direct address and sets the initial tone of your email. So the choice of salutation reflects your relationship with the recipient and the level of formality required by the situation and your company and its company culture. Okay, for very formal communication, of course, especially with a situation where you're really not familiar with someone, or you are with you try to send an email with someone you don't know or someone in a high position, you usually use dear, Mr. or Miss or doctor and their last name. You pair it with their last names. So any kind of, you just to say dear and then their title and then their last name. So that is usually the standard. You use titles like Mr., Miss, or Doctor, as it shows respect to them. So if you know the person's first name, they are, and then their first name is widely accepted in many professional settings because it can strike a balance between formality and approachability. So in more casual internal communication or with close professional contacts, hello, and then their first name, like hello Jane, or hi Jane, or even just Jane. It is, and then followed by a comma, it might be appropriate. When addressing a group and you know their names, so it's best to list them. Say, for example, dear Jane, Mary, and David. So if you're addressing an unknown group, you say dear team. Okay, it's a group. It's what we try to include everyone without really not being familiar with their names. So team is covering a group of people. You say hello, dear team, or hello everyone, or to whom it may concern. Though the latter is becoming less common and can feel impersonal. So you try to find a specific contact if possible. So those are the options. You always use a comma after the salutation. Remember that. Well, we are familiar with that already. So we use this, of course, this is the very first line of your email's body. It appears after the subject line. It's essential for addressing your recipients directly. Okay, so of course, with that, the tone of your salutation can range highly formal, like dear sir or madam, to very informal also, like hi Jane. So it's crucial to match your salutation to the context and your relationship with the recipient, because using a too casual salutation with senior executive or a new client can be perceived as unprofessional, of course, while being overly formal with a close colleague might seem distant. So you pay attention to how others in your workplace communicate via email to gauge the appropriate level of formality. So you try to do that. Pronunciation wise, sal is the first syllable. It is pronounced like the beginning of salad, right? And then the vowel here is a short sound. And then there's a clear L sound here. Then it's followed by you. So you, the second syllable. It is in IPA transcription, it looks like this. The letter J here, it is really pronounced as the letter Y in IPA transcription. Okay, don't be confused. That is the IPA transcription. That is the not the letter J in the alphabet. All right. So if we try to read something in an IPA transcription, if there's a letter J here, it is pronounced as what? As letter Y. So here it is you. Again, you. There's a long U vowel sound here. Then the third syllable, te. Okay. Te, it sounds like the word stay. And there's clearly a diphthong here again. What's a diphthong? It is when a vowel sound smoothly glides to another vowel sound. So vowel sound plus vowel sound, we get a diphthong. Okay, so that's a diphthong. The one I highlighted, that is a diphthong. So it's a, and then the whole syllable is te. So there's a clear diphthong there. And then the final syllable is Tion, Tion. If you remember, when we try to say when we try to say or read Tion, of course, it will always be pronounced as much as possible. If not all the time, most likely it is pronounced as Shun. Okay, Shun, Shun. If there is a Tion in the spelling, especially at the end of the word, we say it as shun. Again, shun. Now, here, the primary stress, it falls on the third syllable, te, the one with the diphthong. So, the first syllable has a secondary stress, but yeah, the stressed, the more emphasized syllable here is the third syllable. So, we say salutation. Again, salutation. All right. Third, recipient. This is the person receiving the email or who the email is for. So, accurately identifying and addressing the correct recipient is, very important for effective communication and ensuring that your message reaches the intended audience. So, the two, like TO field, is for the primary person or people who read who need to read and potentially act upon your email. So you use that to really um signify who the recipient of your email is. This is useful for privacy. Um when emailing a large list, for example, or when you want to keep record of the communication without the main recipients being aware. So always do double checking. Always double check the email addresses before sending, especially when dealing with sensitive information, to avoid accidental disclosures or miscommunication. Because in emails, we cannot really undo the message once we send it. Well, there is like a few seconds that you can undo. You can delete the message so that the recipient who you sent that you how do you call that, who you miscorrectly sent the message will not be able to receive the message, but that's just only a few seconds. How what if you were able to not, you were able to recognize the mistake a few minutes after you sent the message? Of course you cannot already undo that mistake, and the wrong person, wrong recipient of the message you are trying to send can receive your message, which is, of course, not good. That is an accidental disclosure that we do not want to try to do that, especially with sensitive information. So consider using um double checking, as I've mentioned, double checking the email addresses, because email addresses can be really, there are times that it can be really complicated, okay, with all the letters or numbers or combination of the two, with even symbols on it, okay. Double check. So um pronunciation wise, here the first syllable is re. It is a short e sound. So, and then it is followed with c, a hissing sound. So a re c. There's also a short e vowel here, followed by the third syllable p, short e vowel still, with a letter p at the beginning, and it ends with end. Again, and it sounds like the beginning of enter without the of course. It includes a short e vowel, as in bed. So your jaw is hanging. And, and. Okay? The primary stress is on the second syllable. See? So you say recipient. Again, recipient. Alright. Good. Fourth, greeting. Again, greeting. This is a word or phrase to say hello, basically a casual hello. This is a more informal way to initiate an email, often used before the salutation, particularly in internal communication among colleagues who you have a friendly working relationship. So you use greetings in less formal emails, especially when starting a new conversation or when you have an established friendly rapport with the recipient already. So it is typically informal and friendly in tone. Pronunciation wise, it starts with the syllable sig. So there's a short e vowel sound here, and then followed by na, na. There's a schwa sound here. The upside down e, that's a schwa sound. Okay, it's quick and stressed vowel sound. So na, and then ends with chor. Chor. There's a ch sound here. This is a ch sound. That one. The one I highlighted, that's a ch sound. All right. So chor. So you say it as signature. Again, one more time. Signature. Again, signature. All right. Lastly, closure. The final part before the signature. This is your polite ending before your name, basically. It is a polite phrase you use to enter email, immediately preceding your signature. It signals the conclusion of your message, and it should align with the overall tone and formality of your email, as well as your relationship with the recipient. So, closure, that's closure. Now, you're familiar with this, right? Common professional closures would be sincerely. This is a formal and respectful closing. It's typically used when you have addressed the recipient with dear Miss or dear Mr. or dear Doctor, and then their last names. You can also use best regards or kind regards or thank you, or as simple as best, or even respectfully, right? So you can use those professional closures. Pronunciation wise, the first syllable is klo. It has a diphthong sound. Klo. Klo. This one is a diphthong sound. A schwa and o sound. That's a diphthong sound. Klo. O. It sounds like o, like in boat. So this is klo. Okay? And then it's followed by the second syllable, the last syllable, jor. So there's a buzzing sound here. closure. Okay? Closure. The primary stress is on the first syllable, so we say it as closure. Again, closure. One more time, closure. Oh no. All right. So this is the first set of words for business email vocabulary under the area of email structure vocabulary. We have subject, salutation, recipient, greeting, signature, and closure. For a moment. All right. Okay. With that, it's time to practice. Let's have a practice drill. Here, I'm just gonna ask you to read the sentence with me as I say it. Okay? Let's start. Subject. Please write a clear subject so the recipient understands the purpose. Salutation. Use a formal salutation like Dear Mr. Smith when emailing a client. Recipient. Make sure the recipient's email address is correct before sending. Greeting. Start with a friendly greeting to make the message sound polite. Signature. I've updated my email signature to include my phone number. Closure. Use a proper closure such as best regards before your signature. So that's the last word for the first set of words. Let's immediately continue with the second set of words, which is on formal and polite language, starting with courtesy. This is the polite behavior or words. So you show politeness through behavior and words. Courtesy in business email, it extends beyond just using polite phrases. It involves being considerate of the recipient's time, understanding their perspective, and communicating in a way that is respectful and professional to them. So this can, include acknowledging their previous email by saying thank you for your prompt response, something like that. You can also be clear and concise in your message. I'm sorry, in your message, so they don't have to spend unnecessary time deciphering it, and proofreading carefully to avoid errors that could reflect carelessness. That's also another way to demonstrate courtesy in emails. So you use this, of course, constantly. You use this all the time. Courtesy should be woven into the fabric of every business email you send because it's not just about specific phrases, but an overall approach to communication. So every email you send, there should be courtesy in it. Okay? Pronunciation wise, the first syllable here is core. So there's a core, core. So it starts with a lowercase sound and then ends with cur. Second syllable is t, t. There's a schwa sound here, which means it's a quick, relaxed, and unstressed vowel sound. So t, t. It's like you're saying the letter T, basically. Then it ends with c, which has a short um, yeah, courtesy. It has a short e sound. So the primary stress here is on the first syllable. So you basically say it as courtesy. Again, courtesy. Okay. Next is tone. This is the feeling or mood in the message or the feeling or mood conveyed in your message. This is the tone of your email. Um, the tone of your email, it's very crucial because it influences how your message is received and interpreted. So it is done usually throughout the entire writing process. Be consciously aware of the tone you are projecting with your words and choices and sentence structure, everyone. It's very important that you are aware of that. Okay? So it's more intended. Your message is more intended. Pronunciation wise, this is a single syllable word. It's very much easier to pronounce it. The vowel sound here, there's a diphthong sound here. O. Tone. Oh, so that's the diphthong sound here. The one in the middle. That's the diphthong sound. So that is tone. Again, tone. All right. Next, apology. Again, apology. This is saying sorry. You express regret for a mistake or issue. So, a sincere apology in a business email can be a very powerful tool for resolving conflicts and maintaining positive relationships. So, when offering an apology, it is really important to be direct and take responsibility for the issue. You avoid making excuses or blaming others, especially. So you should just clearly state what you are apologizing for, because that's accountability, and if appropriate, briefly explain the steps you are taking or will take to address the situation and prevent it from recurring. So you can just say, I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience this has caused, or please accept our apologies for the error, something like that. It can be effective. Okay? Because again, you should be sincere here, because a weak or insincere apology can be more damaging than no apology at all. Right? You know that. Okay. Pronunciation wise, it starts with a schwa sound, a short and stressed vowel sound. Then the second syllable is po. Po. This is a stressed sound. Po. Then l. L. There's still a schwa sound here. It starts with the letter L sound. And then the final syllable is G. G. There's a letter J sound here. You basically just say G with a short E vowel sound. So you say apology. Again, apology. One more time. Apology. All right. Fourth, regards. Regards. This is a polite way to end your email. This is, a polite closing word or phrase. This is a versatile and widely accepted closing for business emails, the word regards itself. I've mentioned it, right? In the previous set of words. Was it enclosure? I think, yeah. Enclosure, I've provided examples of terms that you can use for closure, and regards is one of which, right? So yeah, you do that. You do this, and you can use this in closure, in closing your email. So you, as your closing line before your signature in most business emails. Okay. Pronunciation wise, regards. Very easy. You start with a letter R sound, paired, or yeah, letter R sound added with a short E vowel sound here. So re, and then guards, guards. Okay, there's a buzzing sound here, although not really that clear, but there's a buzzing sound. Guards, guards, regards. Okay, regards. Well, it's much safer to say letter the hissing sound, but yes, the buzzing sound should be, it's soft here. Regards. It's almost like not a buzzing sound, but it's still a buzzing sound. Okay? Regards. All right. Fifth, gratitude. This is thankfulness. You express thankfulness. You show gratitude in business emails, which is very important. It is essential for acknowledging the efforts, the time or the contribution of others, especially recipients, and it of course helps build positive rapport and strengthens your professional connections. So be specific in your expression of gratitude instead of just, a generic thank you. You can try to say thank you for taking the time to review this report on short notice, for example, or or I really appreciate your help with resolving the technical issue, something like that. So you do that. You do that when someone has helped you, when someone has provided information to you or taken action that you appreciate. It can be included in the body of your email as part of your closing. Okay. Pronunciation wise, gratitude, grat, which is the first syllable. This is the stressed syllable also. Okay? Gratitude. Grat. There's a short sound here. Grat. It starts with a consonant cluster or consonant blend sound. GR. You combine the sounds of those two. And then a short sound, and then ends with the letter T sound. Gratitude. Then it is followed with a short E syllable. That's the second syllable. Chu, the third syllable, there's a CH sound here, and then you end with a clear D. Gratitude. No, that's the only three syllables. I'm sorry, only three syllables. So the third syllable is chud. Okay, should. All right. So this is gratitude. One more time, gratitude. Lastly, we have sincerely. Again, sincerely. This is a formal way to close an email or end an email. I've also mentioned it here on our previous slide, not previous slide, but previous set of words on closure, right? This is an example of closure. I've mentioned it as one of the examples I've provided for closure. So, that is sincerely as your closing line before your signature in formal business emails, especially when you have used a formal salutation. So it conveys a sense of professional distance. That's sincerely. Pronunciation wise, you start with sin with it has a short e sound, sin, and then sir, yeah, sin sir. Their second syllable is sir. There's also a short e sound here. Sincerely, 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 sincerely. And then Lee with a short E sound also. So sincerely. Again, sincerely. All right. So for formal and polite language, we've talked about courtesy, tone, apology, regards, gratitude, and sincerely. And with that, it's time to practice. Let's have a practice drill. Same pattern, same process. All right. Courtesy. Courtesy is important when replying to customer complaints. Tone. Your tone should remain professional even when discussing a problem. Apology. I'd like to offer my sincere apology for the delay in response. Regards. She always ends her email with warm regards. Gratitude. He expressed gratitude for the support during the project. Sincerely. The email ended with sincerely Daniel something. Daniel Lee. So those are the second set of words. Let's hop in immediately to the third set of words, which is under action and request. Okay, first word is request. This is asking for something. In business email, it needs to be clear, it needs to be polite and specific to ensure that the recipient understands exactly what is being asked of them. So, when making a request, it is often helpful to provide context, of course, like why you need it, what it will be used for, and any relevant background information that the recipient might need. Okay? Here, you use request whenever you need the recipient to provide information, to to take action, to grant permission or offer assistance. So you use request when needed, basically. Pronunciation wise, you start with a short with a syllable that has short e sound, which is re. Okay, re, and then followed by quest. There is a short e sound here. Quest. Okay, quest. This short a sound is sandwiched between two consonant blends from the beginning and the end. So for the beginning, there's a KW consonant cluster, and then for the end is ST. Okay, so you say it as request. The syllable stressed is on the second syllable quest. So you say it as again request. One more time, request. Number two, response. This is a reply or answer to an email. So, you use this when you're just basically saying when you are replying to an email you have received. That's response. Okay. Um, Pronunciation wise, it also starts with re with a short e vowel sound, and then spons again. Spons. That's the second syllable. It is the stressed syllable here. So we use SP as a consonant cluster here. And then there's a vowel, short vowel O sound as in hot. So spons. And then it ends with NS. It is a consonant cluster also. Okay? So you say it as response. Again, response. All right. Following this is deadline. Okay, let's not dive deeper into this because it's a very general common word. And as far as I can remember in my previous sessions, I've mentioned this word a lot of times already, as well as the other words in this table. Okay? So deadline is basically just final date or time to do something. So when assigning tasks, requesting information by specific time, or referring to a time sensitive deliverable, that is deadline. Okay? You pronounce this as two syllables. First is dead with a short S sound, and then line with a diphthong sound, I. There's a I diphthong here, so I line. So deadline. For the stressed syllable is on dead, or the first syllable, deadline. Okay. Following this is follow up. Also another familiar word, common word. This is contacting after the first message, or contacting someone again after an initial message. Okay, so you usually do this when you haven't received a response to an important email, or when you need to provide additional information related to a previous communication or previous email you sent, or when you need to also check on the progress of a task. You use follow up. So pronunciation wise, you start with the first syllable fall. Yeah, fall, fall, a short vowel sound here, fall, and then o, o, that is a diphthong in itself. O, o, and then up, up. There's a short sound here, as in cup. So up, up. So the stressed syllable here is in the first syllable. So we say it as follow up. Again, follow up. Fifth, confirmation. Again, confirmation. This is saying something is correct or agreed. Basically, verifying or agreeing to something. It's confirmation. Providing clear confirmation in business emails is essential for ensuring mutual understanding and avoiding errors. So, when you try to confirm something, you are stating that you have received and that you have understood the information, or that you agree to a proposal or to arrangement. So here, of course, when you want to confirm, be specific in your confirmation to avoid ambiguity. And usually in confirmation, you use this when you need to acknowledge receipt of information, or when you want to agree to a proposal, or verify details, or confirm your attendance to an event. That's confirmation. This is usually clear, direct, and affirmative. Pronunciation wise, we start with the first syllable, con. This is unstressed. It sounds like con in concept, basically. So con. And then followed by fur. Fur. Again, fur. There's a short vowel sound here. There's a schwa sound, which is a short and stressed quick vowel sound. And then, of course, letter R at the end for the second syllable. If you combine it with the third syllable, may, which is the stressed word here, or the stressed syllable here. There's a diphthong, clear diphthong here, a. That's a diphthong. So use may. That's the third syllable, and then the final syllable is tion. What's tion? This is pronounced as shun, shun. Okay, just like any other, like nation. Okay. All right. So you say it as confirmation. Confirmation. Again, confirmation. Next, inquiry. This is asking a question or request for information. And when making an inquiry in business email, it is important to be clear, to be concise, and to be specific about the information that you need. So you should organize your questions logically and use bullet points or numbered lists if you have multiple inquiries. Okay? All right. So in inquiry, you use this typically when you need a question, not when you need a question, but when you need to ask a question. Okay. Or so also you can also use this when you request details about product or service, or when you seek clarification in a process, or even just simple as gathering information for a project. It is usually done in a polite and direct tone or manner. Okay. Pronunciation wise, start with in, which has a short e sound, and followed by letter n sound, which is a nasal sound. And then second syllable here is choir. Choir. There's a diphthong sound here. I. There's one. That's the diphthong sound. I. Choir. So it starts with a consonant blend KW and then ends with a letter R sound. And stressed syllable here is quai. Okay. So the third syllable is re. There's a short E sound here. So this is inquiry. Again, inquiry. One more time, inquiry. All right. So for action and request, we've talked about request, response, deadline, follow-up, confirmation, and inquiry. With that, it's time to practice, of course. Let's have a practice drill. Same pattern, same process. Let's start with request. I'd like to make a request for additional time to complete the report. Response. Thank you for your quick response to my inquiry. Deadline. Please remember that the deadline for submission is Friday at 5 p.m. Follow-up. I'm sending this as a follow-up to my previous email last week. Confirmation. We received confirmation of your attendance for the meeting. And lastly, inquiry. I'm writing to make an inquiry about your current job openings. All right. Moving on to the fourth one, which is on files and content. Starting with the word attachment. Again, attachment. This is a file included within the email, or that's attachment. It is a separate digital file that you include with your email message. It is a way to send documents, send images, send presentation spreadsheets, even audio files, or any kind of attachment, any kind of file. So you can attach that one. So when you attach a file, it becomes part of the email package, of course. It's crucial to inform the recipient in the body of your email that there is an attachment and briefly describe its content. Okay? All right. Pronunciation-wise, attachment. So there's 3 distinct sounds here. Starts with a schwa sound, which is a short and stressed vowel. And then touch. This is a stressed syllable part of the word. So there's also a short sound here. Touch. So it ends with the syllable ment, which is unstressed. Okay, and it has a schwa sound also. So this is, and also there's a consonant cluster. I'm sorry. There's also a consonant cluster or blend here, nt at the end. So we say this as attachment. Again, attachment. Next is hyperlink. This is a clickable link in a digital message or a clickable web address or link within your email. Basically, it is a piece of text or an image in your email that when clicked, it takes the recipient to a specific location online, such as a website. Usually it's a website or a specific page on the website or even another place with the same document. Okay. Hyperlinks are incredibly useful for providing additional resources. Pronunciation wise, you start with a schwa sound, which is stress, which is unstressed. No, not unstressed, but not, I'm sorry. This is not starting with a hyperlink. We're talking about hyperlink. I'm still on attachment for some reason. But yeah, I stand corrected. We start with hyperlink. So we start with high. The syllable is high. There's a clear diphthong here. I diphthong. So AI, that's I diphthong. So this is high. And then followed by per with a schwa sound. This is also not the stressed sound. This is not the stressed sound. The stressed sound is on the first syllable, which is high. And then hyperlink. Again, link. This is also unstressed sound, so that there's a short E vowel sound here. And then you end with a nasal sound, NG sound. So link. There's a K sound before that. Not before, after that. So that's the end sound of this word. Hyperlink. Again, hyperlink. Third, format. This is how something is arranged or written, the way your email or document looks and is organized. So you usually do this when discussing the appearance or structure of your email or an attached document, also when giving instructions on how something should be presented. So this means that you use neutral and descriptive or instructive tone. For pronunciation wise, format, you start with for. This is the first syllable, which is the stressed syllable also. So here, format, you can also say format. Usually format with a clear R sound, that is American English because it's rhotic. And then in British English, that is non-rhotic in a way that, meaning that the letter R sound is usually not, clear or usually not spoken. So format or format. All right. Lastly, the second syllable is mat. There's a short A sound here. So you say this as format. Again, format. Fourth, template. Template. This is a pre-made structure for emails or a ready-made structure to help you write emails faster and more consistently. So we use this when referring to or using pre-designed email structure to create new messages. That is template. Pronunciation-wise, you start with tem. There's two syllables only here. The stem, which has a short a sound, and then you end with plate, where it has a consonant blend at the beginning, and then followed by a diphthong sound. No, not a diphthong sound. Template. There's no diphthong in the transcription, so let's just try to follow that. It's followed by a schwa sound, so and then ends with letter T, so template. Again, template. Fifth, document. This is a written file or a file containing written information. So that is document. You try to use this when referring to a written file that is either attached to your email or that you're asking the recipient to provide. So that's document. Pronunciation wise, you start with doc. Okay, doc. There's a vowel sound there. Short vowel sound, and then you. So there's a schwa sound there. So it's stressed a quick vowel sound. And you end with meant. There's also a schwa sound there. But just like attachment, you say meant as like that. Meant. Again, meant. So you say this word as document. The stressed syllable is on doc, or the first syllable. Document. Again, document. Lastly, we have file. A saved group of data or document, a saved collection of digital information basically. It is a general term for any digital storage unit on a computer or other device. It can contain various types of data, including text documents, images, videos, audio, spreadsheets, and many, many more. So when you attach something to an email, you are attaching a file. Okay, and it's a good practice to give your files descriptive names so the recipient can easily understand their content before opening them. For example, instead of document1.pdf, you use marketing plan Q4 2023.pdf. Okay, all right. Pronunciation wise, there's only one syllable here. You start with the letter F sound, and then followed by a diphthong sound, I, and then ends with letter L sound. So file. Again, file. So for files and content, we talked about attachment, hyperlink, format, template, document, and file. And with that, it's time to practice. Let's have a practice drill. Starting with attachment. Please see the attachment for the updated contract details. Hyperlink. Click the hyperlink below to view our company profile. Format. Using the proper format for submitting monthly reports. Template. I've attached an email template you can use to respond to customers. Document. The legal document must be signed and returned by tomorrow. File. I couldn't open the file you sent. Could you send it as a PDF? Okay. Those are the words under action and files. Okay. Let's hop in immediately to the last set of words, which is on feedback and decision language. Of course, let's start with feedback. Have I mentioned this, or I think none? Not? But yeah, feedback is the comments or suggestions. This is giving comments or suggestions to help improve something. Now, feedback in business context, it is crucial for growth and improvement. So when giving feedback via email, it is important to be specific rather than vague. Okay? You usually use this, of course, after reviewing someone's work, like reports, presentations, or proposals, etc. Or you use this when asked for an opinion or when you see an opportunity for improvement. Pronunciation wise, let's start with fade. That is the first syllable, fade. So there's a long E sound here. And then buck, which has a short A sound and a consonant blend at the end, CK. So this the primary stress is on the fade or the first syllable. So you say it as feedback. Again, feedback. Next is approval. Saying yes or agreeing something. That's approval. Approval in business setting, it often involves formal authorization. So when granting approval via email, it's wise to be clear and unambiguous. Okay? All right. Approval. Pronunciation wise, you start with a schwa sound, a. Second syllable is prove. So there's just long oo sound here. And then um val with a schwa sound at the middle. Okay? So this is approval. Again, approval. Next, rejection. Again, rejection. All right. So rejection is the next word. This is saying no or not accepting. That is rejection. This is officially saying no or not accepting a proposal, an idea, or request. Rejecting. Okay? All right. Pronunciation wise, you start with re, rejecting. Yeah, re with a short e sound, and then jack, second syllable. So there's a short e sound here, so jack, and then it starts with letter J sound. Okay, and ends with letter K sound. The final syllable tion, tion. That is shun. Okay. Shun. So the stress syllable here is on the middle part, jack. So you say it as like this: rejection. Again, rejection. One more time, rejection. Fourth, revision. Again, revision. This is a change or correction. You make changes or corrections to improve something, basically. And, everyone, revisions are a normal part of many business processes. We know that. We understand that. So, when requesting revisions via email, be specific about what needs to be changed and why. Because providing clear instructions or even marking up a document can be very helpful to them, to your colleague or to your coworkers. So pronunciation wise, to start with re, which has a short e sound here. All right. So re, that's the first syllable, and then it is followed by the second syllable of vish. So there's a short e vowel sound also here, and then it ends with sh sound. It's not a literal buzzing sound, letter Z sound only, because there's an H sound here also. Vish. Okay? Vish. And then ends with, of course, on. So the second syllable here is the stressed syllable. So you say it as revision. Excuse me. Revision. All right. Fifth is agreement. This is a shared decision or understanding. No, making a mutual decision. So that's agreement. You use this when confirming a shared decision, when understanding or set of terms. So you use clear, direct, and affirmative tone, of course, here. That's agreement. Pronunciation wise, you start with schwa sound and then followed by gri, which has a consonant blend sound at the beginning, and then followed by or paired by a short e vowel sound. So gri, agreement. No, not a short e sound, but a long e sound here because it's gri, so it's a long e sound. So agreement, and then it ends with ment, just like with attachment and what other things were mentioned earlier. But yeah, ment. There's a schwa sound in a schwa vowel sound. So, and then ended with a consonant blend nt. So you say this with the second syllable or stressed syllable. You say this as agreement. Again, agreement. Okay. Lastly, clarification. This is making something clearer or easier to understand. That is clarification. When asking for clarification in an email, be specific about what is unclear. That's just what we need to do with clarification. So you use this when you need more information to understand something, or when someone has asked you to explain something more clearly. That's clarification. So pronunciation wise, you start with the first syllable clar, which has a clear consonant blend sound in the beginning, and then a short ah sound in the end. Clar. So again, it can be the letter R sound at the end can be pronounced clearly or not. If it's pronounced clearly, that's American English. If it's not, that is British English. So it could be clar or claw. Clar. 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 Yeah. And then it is followed by E sound, a short E vowel sound as a second syllable, and then phi, which also has a short E sound. And then, of course, Tion, shun. Okay, so the first, the third, no, the one, two, three, the fourth syllable, the K sound here, the one with the diphthong sound, that is the, that is the stressed syllable. So you say it as clarification. Again, clarification. So for feedback and decision language, we've talked about feedback, approval, rejection, revision, agreement, and clarification. And with that, it's time to practice, of course. Let's have a practice drill. Starting with feedback. We appreciate your feedback on the new process. Approval. We cannot proceed with the purchase order with your approval. Rejection. Unfortunately, we received a rejection on the loan application. Revision. The client asked for a revision to the budget section of the proposal. Agreement. We reached an agreement to start the project on Monday. Clarification. Could you provide clarification on the delivery schedule mentioned below? And that is the last set of words. So for this session, we've talked about 30 all in all business email vocabulary. We have subject, greeting, courtesy, regards, request, salutation, signature, tone, gratitude, response, recipient, closure, apology, sincerely, deadline, follow-up, attachment, template, feedback, revision, confirmation, hyperlink, document, approval, agreement, inquiry, format, file, rejection, and clarification. So all right, everyone, that brings us to the end of our session on business email vocabulary. I hope you have gained a deeper understanding of these key terms and how to use them effectively in your professional communication. Remember, choosing the right words can significantly impact the clarity, the tone, and overall access of your, not access, but overall success of your emails. Okay. I had the confusion on that. But yeah, we've covered a range of essential vocabulary from the basic structure of an email to polite language, action-oriented terms and words related to files, content, feedback, and decisions. So by incorporating these terms thoughtfully into your writing, you can enhance your professionalism and build strong working relationships. So keep practicing, just keep practicing, everyone. Keep practicing and pay attention to the language used in the business emails you receive, as this will further solidify your understanding and help you become a more confident and effective email communicator. Okay, thank you everyone for your presence here, for your participation today. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Any questions or any lingering questions that you might have on our class? I guess none. Yeah, none. So that's it, everyone. That's everything that we need to learn for today. Have a productive rest of your day. Good evening and good night.